Welcome to Diligent Canine, and in this video I'm going to talk about how to entertain your dog and keep them busy, give them exercise indoors. So this could be when it's raining, when it rains several days in a row, when you're sick, when you have had a hard workout yourself and you don't feel like exercising your dog, but you know that your dog is important to you and still needs to get their work in as well. Winter is quickly approaching here. It's early November, but it's already down to close to freezing temperatures in Georgia, so I'm sure in other parts of the country and the world it is much colder than that. And if you are from the southeast United States, you know that winter means rain, and lots of it. So here, it has been nice, actually, pretty nice, cold, dry weather the last couple of days, but at the beginning part of this week, it rained for 3 or 4 days in a row. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens no matter where you live. And your dogs, they still need exercise. So when you're cooped up inside, you need some ways to do that. So I'm going to talk about some things that you can do to kind of occupy your dog while you're trapped inside, relatively speaking. And all of these ideas can be used as well when you have, say, an unusually busy schedule that day, or you had a difficult or particularly exhaustive day at work, if you do a manual labor job or a workout, if you were an athlete. I will caveat all of that with these tools or ideas that I'm going to throw out are not supplements for regular training and exercise with your dog. They're kind of you can use them as a supplement for things like crate training or in case of emergency when it does rain, but it really should not be, or they should be the exception rather than the norm for how you train or stimulate or exercise your dog. Let's take a look at a couple of things then. My number one favorite is a Kong. It's just your regular black, extra large Kong. And it's no secret that you can put stuff inside of them. They're hollow on the inside, and they have a big hole at the bottom and a small hole at the top. And you can, of course, put regular dry kibble in there, but it tends to fall out pretty quickly and easily. So because of the size of the hole at the bottom, the dogs figure out pretty quick that all they have to do is push this thing around with their nose, and as it rolls, or if they pick it up and drop it, a whole bunch of food falls out of the bottom, and that activity doesn't last very long for the dog. So something you can do as well or separately is add peanut butter to the kibble, or you can just fill the Kong with peanut butter by itself. Anywhere I've done 2 to 6 or 8 tablespoons in the extra large one as part of my dog's food. So I put that in there, and it takes actually a pretty good bit of time for the dog to have to lick it out because they can't just bite and chew the food. They've got to use their tongue, kind of like a popsicle, to get every last bit out of the inside. Now, something I've done as well that really adds an exponent to that is put the peanut butter filled Kong in the freezer, anywhere from a few hours to overnight. Really solidifies that peanut butter, so it adds even more duration to the time the dog's going to have to work to get the food out of the toy. So a good example of this that I use all the time, at least a couple times a week, is to before I go to bed, I put peanut butter in the Kong, put the Kong in the freezer, and then when I wake up in the morning and I do my training with my dog, before I go to work then, or as I'm going to work, I tell my dog to go to his crate, and the peanut butter filled Kong is his reward. It's a high value reward, so he's going to very much appreciate that. It's also going to give him something to do for, with that size and that duration of frozen, at least an hour. He's going to stay pretty occupied, so that's something that's very helpful to think about. Very similarly, I've used empty Gatorade bottles, or Powerade in this case, and these I do use dry kibble with, because I can fit more kibble in it, one, and two, the opening, the mouth is smaller, or at least it's funneled the opposite direction that the Kong is. So where the Kong is wider, where the big hole is at the bottom, the food falls out really easy. This is the opposite. So the food gets bottlenecked at the neck of the bottle. It doesn't fall out nearly as easily. There are some caveats and things to watch out for with the plastic bottles. Obviously, you need to take the cap off. You need to cut off this wrapper on the outside. That will be the first to go, and you don't want your dog to choke on it. Similarly, you've got to watch out for this rim, this little rim that's part of the cap, that's sealed when you buy the bottles and breaks when you open them. You've got to watch out for that coming off. I would not leave your dog unsupervised. Do not do that when you're using a water bottle. You don't want them to rip pieces off and choke on them. The wrapper and the ring on the neck are just the most obvious, but obviously supervise your dog when they're chewing on the bottles. Another idea that you could use with a plastic bottle is to fill it with beef broth, and just like the peanut butter then, we or I would freeze that. And again, beef or chicken broth, and your dog has a broth popsicle, which is helpful then because it only melts so fast at room temperature, so the dog only gets to drink or lick so much off of it at a time, and being inside the bottle means they can't just bite and crunch on it like an ice cube. Third, if you have a smaller dog or a larger house for a larger dog, you might be able to arrange the furniture in your house to make like an obstacle course for them to climb or jump over or under. So things like turning over your couch or a couple of chairs. It's not too difficult with a little creativity to set up a little agility course right in your living room for your dog to run through, be that over the couch, under the table, over the chair, under another chair, things like that, to give your dog some activity and exercise. Similarly, you can teach them to use their nose. I do have a detection series on Patreon, but the foundation of that is play and teaching the dog to search for things that they like with their nose. It doesn't have to be a particular odor, say narcotics, explosives, or an oil. You can teach them to search for their favorite toy, or a tug. You can teach them to search for your keys or your phone or your shoes. Any of those things. The toys work really well because the dog has already built a relationship with that stuff and is going to be motivated to find those things. So that could be as simple as you put the dog in the bedroom and you put their favorite toy under a pillow on the sofa, and you bring the dog out and you teach them to search for it. Or maybe you just have it rolled out in the living room and they have to come from another room to find it. So those are some ideas that you can kind of play with, ad lib on. Again, teaching the dog to search for their toys indoors is a way to exercise their brain and their body when the weather is not cooperating outside. The last option that I want to make sure to point out is suck it up. Sometimes you are just going to have to walk the dog in the rain. Sometimes when you are tired or sick or otherwise injured or feeling incapable, your dog still needs to be exercised. Your dog still needs love and attention, just like your kids need love and attention. So you knew that, or should have known that, when you adopted or purchased a dog. When you brought that animal into your home, you knew that there would be certain energy requirements, certain exercise requirements, and things required of you to maintain that dog's behavior and make sure that dog is getting a fulfilling life. So it sucks. It's part of life with the dog. You're going to have to do it sometimes. You can have all the gimmicks and tools in the world, but sometimes you're going to have to walk the dog in the rain, or when it's cold outside, or when you just don't feel like it. Suck it up. You're going to have to do it. So, take care of your dog, be creative, engage your mind to exercise their mind and their body. And thanks for watching and for your support of military and working dogs.